YouTube, you know what day it is. It is Tuesday, and that means it's Tier List Tuesday. Let's go. All right, you guys, so in this week's tier list, if you guys haven't been here before, we rank weapons from S to D, S being the top tier, D being the worst tier. You can kind of see it here on the side right now. And then, obviously, we're going to be doing SMGs today. For those that did click on the video, I do appreciate you guys. If you guys do like these kind of videos where I do go over this and kind of talk about each weapon and rank them, make sure you guys like the video. Tune in next week on Tuesday by subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications, and comment below what you guys thought about it, because honestly, some people have some really good input and I love reading all the comments and interacting with you guys. So let's jump on into it, guys. Let's do it right away. So we're going to start off here today, guys. It looks like this is in alphabetical order. We have all the names of the guns on here, which is fantastic, and I like that a lot, especially for your guys' eyes, for people that are very casual. You don't know exactly what gun it is. So this is very helpful. AK-74U, starting right off here. I'm going to put this in A tier. It was potentially an S tier gun before in like season 3, but you're not really seeing anyone really running anymore. Z-Laner likes to pull it out from time to time in the competitive scene, but for the most part, what I've always said about this gun is something just feels off with it. I don't know what it is. It's definitely a controller gun. On mouse and keyboard, it just feels a little bit clunky. It's got good range, but the range did get nerfed a little bit in this season, and the damage is very good, especially if you hit headshots. It has a very fast time to kill, so if you have crazy accuracy, it might be an S tier gun for you, but for the most part, it's going to be A tier for most people. The AUG from MW. So this got buffed going into Season 4, and it never went through. So the buff never happened. So for the time being, I'm going to leave it at C tier. When this buff of damage actually goes in, though, like, this is actually going to be, like, arguably S tier. Like, the big thing on the Modern Warfare weapons, other than the MP5, the Modern Warfare SMGs, they just don't have as much movement as the Cold War ones. There's so many attachments on it. This could potentially be S or A when they do put this buff through, but you're always going to feel a little clunky using it. But the time to kill is going to be stinking stupid, because as of right now, I just did a testing video on it at the start of the season because I thought the buffs went through and I posted it and everything, and the damage felt really good, but it just felt clunky. So I'd put it at C tier for the time being. This was the biggest surprise I have seen in a while, honestly, guys. I have always rated the Bizon D tier, but it's A tier now. No cap. This thing is very good. The build that I have on my channel. So for anyone who hasn't been here before, I have legit a video on like every single gun on here except for maybe the KSP and the ISO. But other than that, we just posted a new Bizon video. The build we have on it has an amazing ADS speed. The time to kill feels very good. Fire rate feels way better than the Bullfrog. I don't know. Something about it, it felt really good now. And honestly, I think it's an A tier weapon. I would never have said this before. This was my least favorite gun in the game. But now with the buffs to the damage it got, it feels really good. So definitely an A tier weapon. Next, we have the Bullfrog. Bullfrog, I put it right next to the Bizon. They're pretty much hand in hand. I think the Bullfrog has a little bit of a better headshot multiplier, but I think the Bizon actually feels better than the Bullfrog now, which is really surprising. I thought I'd never say that in this entire world, but Bullfrog, very viable, lots of ammo, very friendly gun to low-level players, so I'd put it at A tier. Statistically, it has some of the best stats in the game, but the fire rate is a little weird, so that's what you have to look out for. The Fennec. I'm going to put Fennec at B tier. Technically, it has like the fastest time to kill of any of the guns in the game because the fire rate's ridiculous, but it only has a 40-round mag, and this is a gun that needs like a 65-round mag, because by the time you kill one person, finish them off on the ground, like, you have to reload, basically. Like, you're lucky to get 2 people before reloading because it just has such a crazy fire rate. So you either have to run sleight of hand with it, and if you're not running sleight of hand with it, like, just in general, you have to just be kind of crazy with your movement to make it work. But 1v1, this gun is very hard to beat. The ISO to me is D tier. I think it's definitely like a viable weapon, but especially for low level players, you can get away with it. But the time to kill is very slow on it. Like, this is weird that it never got any buffs. Like, they brought it into the game and they just kind of like ignored its existence. Like, they brought it in as basically the same exact weapon as an MP7, but just worse stats. So it doesn't really make sense to me why they haven't ever changed anything. I would love to see a change of this gun though, because it has never been viable. I literally think it's the only gun in the game that I'm like basically level 1 with it still. Like, I don't use it and nobody else uses it, so I know it's not good. The KSP 45. You got a buff this season, but in my opinion, I think it's still C tier. It could be potentially D tier, but I'm going to put it at C tier just because the time to kill is actually pretty good on it technically, but a 3-burst gun in an SMG battle, it's just not made for that. I wish there was a way to turn it into a full auto weapon, and then the stats would probably be broken on it. But as a 3 burst weapon, it has very fast time to kill. But at the end of the day, do you really want a 3 burst weapon up close? No. The LC10 to me, I think, is also going to be S tier as of right now. In past seasons, I have ranked it, I put it in A tier. In past seasons, I've put it as S tier. I think it's very, very good. It has amazing multipliers on the headshots. Literally is so much range. Good, like 0 recoil on it. You really can't go wrong with the LC10. It's just not as good as some of these other S tier guns that we are going to get to. Because in my opinion, like an SMG is made for short range fights. The LC10 is really good in like that short medium range. Up close, it still does a good job, but I would take it to a short medium range over some of these S tier weapons. But in short range, we'll get to it. Mac 10, baby. Mac 10, I prefer over all SMGs in the game pretty much right now. I mean, for me personally, since the Mac 10 came out, I have fallen in love with this gun. There's so many builds that have worked with it. I have a ton of videos. If you guys haven't checked out my video that I did Tommy's Mac 10 build, the build feels amazing. It feels so clean, up close and personal, and then it also has a pretty good amount of range on it. The range has been nerfed over time though. If you want a little bit more range on it, make sure you put the agency suppressor on it, but I think the sound suppressor is just more consistent in most situations for an SMG. So I think the Mac 10 is our first S tier today. It is my personal favorite. Let's go on to the Milano. Milano here, guys. I'm going to put it S tier right now, honestly. Got a big buff going into this season. And the reason it's getting put at S tier is because people are literally using it as an AR now. Like, it has so much damage that people are using it as an AR. And obviously, the bullet velocity on it's not as good as an AR, but people are still using it and like legitimately using it in a tournament situation and using it as a SMG. I made a video on it and I said, hey, this gun feels really good, and no one believed me. And now over time, it's starting to come out. I always test things out before other people, and I'm always right. I know what a good gun feels like. I have a 2.5 KD for a reason. I understand how the game's played. It has amazing movement, good damage. Use it as an AR with the 3 times, or use it as a secondary. I prefer it as a secondary because I think the movement on it feels so good. The only downside of this gun, which you could argue it to be an A tier for, is the fire rate. The fire rate just feels a little weird, but I think the Milano is S tier right now. No cap. MP5 is technically the best gun in the game right now, I think. Everyone's running competitive. I've always loved the feel of it. Also, guys, I have updated, before I like really dive into this, I have a loadouts thing that I'll put in the description below that has all my loadouts. I'm consistently uploading. It's a Google Doc. We upload it consistently, and I try to update it anytime I change builds. My Modern Warfare, or not Modern Warfare, Cold War MP5 feels amazing, guys. Like, I love it. It's so much fun to use. You don't put a barrel on it. Some people do put the task force on it for a little bit more range, but I prefer the movement build on it, and it absolutely destroys people. So definitely test it out if you guys haven't yet. Everyone's using it right now. Like, it is the meta. Modern Warfare MP5, I'm actually going to put, I would usually like put these two neck to neck, but I think I'm going to put it at A tier. As of right now, it doesn't have the crazy time to kill that you really need to go against some of these other weapons, but it does feel very good. And it's honestly, I say this all the time in my videos about this weapon, the Modern Warfare MP5, like, it's like a noob's weapon. Like, you can build it with a hip fire that like you never have to aim down sight. Like, it's so easy to use, and I highly recommend it to like literally anyone. Can't go wrong with it. It just isn't as good as the Cold War MP5 right now, I don't think. The damage is just too good on the Cold War one. The MP7, Sag. I love this gun so much, and I missed it at the very first season of Warzone, it being meta, and it was so good. But over time, it did get one nerf, and it just kind of took it away from the meta. It was my favorite secondary support until Cold War weapons came out. Then there's so many good ones like the AK, the XM4, the FAR meta. Like, I loved using it as a sniper support, but now I don't really see any use for the MP7. The time to kill is decent, but it has good range. But in my opinion, you're going to lose most gunfights to literally every gun above here. If you're both hitting shots, MP7 is just going to lose, unfortunately. The nail gun. I'm actually going to put the nail gun in A tier right now. You could argue it to be S tier, but it just has a 20 round mag and no attachment. So every single time you use it, you're not gonna like, you know what you're getting, but 20 round mag. What are you gonna do with 20 rounds? You can maybe kill 2 people because it kills people in like 4 bullets. Stupid time to kill. Like, it's ridiculously, like, in a 1v1, The nail gun is probably the best gun right now in the entire game. Like, the time to kill is stupid. But in like a quads format, you're not really going to see people use it. So definitely A tier. I wouldn't push it in that S tier. Fun gun to use though. Super fun. P90 to me is going to be B tier. Kind of similar to the MP7. It's got good range, almost no recoil, lots of ammo. You don't have any ammo issues. Good hip fire. I mean, you can't really go wrong with it in a lot of situations, but I just don't love this gun. I just want it to be better. It needs a little bit of a damage buff, and it would be literally so strong, but the OG P90 is B tier. PPSH. A lot of people are going to argue with me that it is S tier right now. There's actually some people running in competitive right now, which is surprising. But I think I'm going to have to leave it at A tier just because there's just something about this gun that at range, it just feels horrible. So it is what it is. It has a crazy fire rate, good time to kill up close. And honestly, you can really like overpower people with it because it has such a high fire rate that it actually gives a good amount of flinch to people. So in that sense, it's good. It's good movement. It's got very good. It's just barely missing S tier. Like, I would probably rank this the highest A tier one, maybe behind, maybe like the same level as the LC10 or the MP5 maybe, but it's just missing something. It needs something to make it feel better at long range. That high fire rate is tough. Like, the recoil isn't horrible on it, but it's just tough when you're shooting that fast. I don't know. It's just missing something. Last but not least, the Uzi. The Uzi to me falls into C tier. It's just in the same situation as the Milano was before. It just doesn't do enough damage, and it has an awkward fire rate. So we buff this, it'll fall into probably the S tier or A tier. It doesn't have as much movement as the Milano, but I could easily see it go A tier if it got any kind of a buff to its damage, because we have those special rounds on it that make you do a little bit more damage. I think it's the 32 caliber rounds, whatever they are. They're very decent, but at the end of the day, it's just not a great weapon. I wish it was better, because the Uzi is like, you think of the Uzi, you think of Call of Duty 4, like such a classic weapon. Same with the P90. They proved to us that they are going to buff things. Since they did buff the AUG and they did buff the Bizon, maybe they will buff some of these weapons because they have never been the meta. Maybe we'll see something. But for the time being, I don't think we're going to see anything anytime soon. I'm hoping to see an ISO buff, because I personally think this gun is just like, it's like the MP7, but worse. Like, you could maybe argue that you put it in C here, but to me, that's all of them, guys. That is our tier list right there. I personally think probably the Cold War MP5 is the best in the game, and then probably in that exact order for the top 3 guns for those people that want to know which one I think is the best. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy today's Tier List Tuesday. A little quick one here for you. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys did, make sure you guys drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you made it all the way through. Turn on notifications to get every notification where I go live for streams. I stream over on Twitch as well if you guys do want to follow down there below. I have it in the description. All kinds of good stuff coming to the channel, guys. I love every single one of you guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought about my tier list today, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.